that 4-year-old.
Here at Seattle's Kingdome, two drivers have come almost 2,500 miles to do battle for the first time ever. It's Taurus versus Grave Digger. Certainly a spectator dream battle. And this is the man behind Taurus, Jack Woolman Jr., and you're here for basically one reason.
Yeah, I've never had a chance to get at Dennis Anderson's Grave Digger, and I'm looking real forward to kicking some butt here at Seattle Kingdome, and it ought to be a real exciting evening.
Well, all I can say is if he kicks my butt, it won't be a bowl of cherries. You can believe that.
What's going to be the key to getting around a guy that you've wanted so bad?
Well, the key is here you have some dirt moguls here in front of the first set of cars, and judging that and not getting no air off of that is going to be a real key.
I've seen Taurus run before. He's seen me run before, and we figure that that both of us will end up in the finals, and hopefully I can put him away.
Me and Dennis both have two of the high-tech trucks out with a coil-over suspension, and it's going to be a real tough race.
Because I know he's out to get me, and I'm out to get him, and we're the lightest weight race trucks here.
Is this going to be a driver's race, or is this going to be a horsepower WFO battle?
I think this is a little of both horsepower and driver ability, because the guy don't want to hit this dirt mogul too hard, or it's going to send him into a bad bounce before he hits a set of cars. So it's going to be both horsepower and driver, situation.
All I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to bury him. I'm going to try to put him away, so I'm going to hammer on it.
Over 40,000 race fans here at the Kingdome in Seattle anxiously await the start of qualifying to determine the starting positions for the monster truck field. Believe me when I tell you that these fans are looking forward to a first-ever Taurus versus Grave Digger showdown. In fact, on the starting line, the very first man against the clocks in this qualifying session leaves the starting line. Dennis Anderson over the first obstacle, now over the crush cars, and on this 125-foot course takes it nearly perfectly. Obviously, the crowd knew that the first-ever Seattle appearance of this machine would be a barn-storming effort. And Anderson on the slow-motion replay shows just how hard he can take the first hit, putting the truck through the air over most of the second half of the course. The elapsed time for the Grave Digger on the very first effort, 4.93 seconds, and that will set the pace for the machines to follow. On the starting line, the one and only Robert Parker in the AM/PM Boss out of California, one of the Self-Dalton team trucks. The Chevrolet leaves the starting line rather conservatively, but comes on strong in the second half of the run. And in this particular instance, conservatism during qualifying may help save the parts for the all-important side-by-side eliminations. On the very first hit on the crushed cars, Parker puts the big Chevrolet way in the air and lands the AM/PM Boss slightly sideways to record an elapsed time of 6.49 seconds. The crowd anxiously greets the incredible 1947 Peterbilt of the one and only Mike Welsh of Bellingham, Washington. A one-of-a-kind body style and an incredibly heavy machine that is still backed by the fans all over this part of the country. Welsh, again, using a little bit of conservatism to get across the cars and at least secure himself a spot in the field. But believe me when I tell you that driving this machine at almost 18,000 pounds is a job. It is a chore. The elapsed time on the incredible Super Pete, 8.06 seconds. And that'll place him in the field right now with Dennis Anderson currently leading qualifying. But remember, we still have some of the biggest and best to go, including Taurus and Brian Carson coming up. Welcome back to the Kingdome in Seattle, Washington, as we continue action at the USHRA Association's premier championship event in the Northwest. We continue monster truck qualifying. The incredible Samson 1 out of the state of Alabama readies itself for a qualifying attempt. One of the very first of the monster trucks created in the mid-1980s is still a showstopper in appearance and obviously has more than enough power to make itself reckoned with in this field. The Samson machine comes down hard after a rather rough ride over the cars. The elapsed time, 7.63 seconds for the beautiful Chevrolet from the southeast. In the meantime, pulling up to the starting line area may well be one of the most unusual entries here at Seattle. A 1942 Dodge military truck driven by Terry Woodcock called Unnamed and Untamed. Woodcock, in his first USHRA Association National Championship event of the season, appears to have a few problems, but now gets back into the throttle. But a tremendous amount of smoke on the landing indicates the early model Dodge may have serious drivetrain problems. Literally a mushroom cloud of engine damage smoke as Woodcock takes the turn. Watching the slow motion replay underneath the front two tires. The truck lands, then the engine starts to come apart. You're looking at a $30,000 cloud of death smoke on that one. The elapsed time for Woodcock, 6.07 seconds, will get him in the field. But obviously, Woodcock is more concerned about returning for eliminations than anything else. But meanwhile, back on the starting line, the challenger approaches. Jack Willman Jr. out of Granite City, Illinois, in the incredible Taurus Chevrolet has his sights set on the Grave Digger. He must run quicker than 4.93 seconds to gain the #1 qualifying spot in this battle. Willman leaves the line with a slight hesitation. Now flat foots it through the air. A wild sideways landing. And Willman may well have threatened the North Carolinian and the Grave Digger for the pole. On the replay, watch the incredible air that Willman gets sailing across the floor of the Kingdome. The elapsed time, 5.07 seconds, will not be enough to knock Grave Digger out of the #1 spot, but it will set up each driver on either side of the elimination ladder and present a possible Taurus versus Grave Digger confrontation. Unbelievable job by both drivers, and as you can see, Grave Digger and Dennis Anderson leads qualifying at 4.93 seconds. Willman #2 at 5.07 seconds. When we return, it will be the first round of actual side-by-side monster truck racing here at the Kingdome, plus one of the greatest stuntmen ever, the legendary Brian Carson. Don't go away. The Kingdome in Seattle, Washington at the USHRA Association's Monster Truck Championship event as we get ready for side-by-side eliminations. Dennis Anderson in the near lane. The Grave Digger 1950 Chevrolet leaves the starting line against Travis Welch in the Destroyer. But look at the Grave Digger come on for an absolute blowout of the local Washington driver. While Travis Welch left the starting line right with the big green Chevrolet, Anderson flat-footed it at the first set of crush cars and then wheel-stood his way across the finish line. He'll advance to the semi-final round for the Chevrolet fans. Anderson heads back to the pits to perform any in-between rounds repairs that may be needed. But at this point, the machine looks clean. Meanwhile, the local hero in the Super Pete 1947 Peterbilt tractor, Mike Welch, lines up on the starting line for his first round battle. Now, interestingly enough, Welch will get a solo run here in the first round as Terry Woodcock in the unnamed and untamed Dodge could not return. Look at Welch nearly up on two wheels, even on a solo run here in the first round. Obviously, he wants to give the hometown fans a show with the Super Pete Peterbilt. Welch will return to the pit area as the next pair of machines approaches the starting line. And interestingly enough, it looks like this as well may be a solo effort. Brian Mabey in the AM/PM Boss Chevrolet fleet side out of California was originally scheduled to take on Mike West in the Nasty Habits crew cab, but West himself scattered an engine with severe damage in the qualifying round, and Mabey will get a very, very lucky free ride into the semifinal round. He'll use this effort to test the track and the truck. And as you can see, very conservative again off the starting line. Maybe gets back in the throttle hard, bounces around at the finish line, but he'll take a free ride into the semifinal round as well. It looks like there may have been even engine problems off the starting line as Mabey eventually got full power back just before he hits the crush cars. And on the replay, you can see the rear end darting around as he crosses the finish line in a rather scary finish run. He'll head back to the pit area and remain ready for his semifinal bout. But in the meantime, out of the state of Georgia, the incredible Samson Chevrolet, as we pointed out, one of the original monster machines, moves to the starting line. Originally created by Don Maples in the late 1970s, the Samson 1 was one of the very first race monster trucks. But now he'll be taking on one of the toughest in the business. 24-year-old Jack Willman Jr. out of Granite City, Illinois, in the incredible Taurus Chevrolet, the same that took him to the #2 spot in the World Championship race in last season's events. The Taurus Chevrolet inching forward to the starting line with 572 cubic inches of supercharged Chevrolet power. And certainly Robert Parker, the driver of Samson 1, is going to have to do everything within his power to hold off the purple Chevrolet in the far lane. Inching forward, both drivers staged, waiting for the flagman's signal. Driver reaction all important, and the whole shot goes to the Taurus Chevrolet. It's not even going to be a contest. Willman shuts the power down well before the finish line when he realizes that he had the race in hand. After gaining that starting line advantage strictly through driver reaction, the Taurus Chevrolet was in perfect form, and as we pointed out, Willman didn't even need to use the power on tap in this incredible ride. As he heads back to the pit area, he knows he is one step down on his way to a championship final round berth here in Seattle.